If you're getting ready to move, I want to save you from a mistake that almost everyone makes. They spend hours packing things that they don't use, don't need, and probably won't even unpack in their next home. Every extra item that you pack means more boxes, more lifting, more unpacking, and more stress. So before you pack another box, I'm going to show you 10 things to declutter before a move. By the time we're done, you'll have less stuff to pack, less stuff to move, and less stuff to unpack on the other side. Number 1 is the box that you've already moved before. You know the one. It's that box in the attic or the basement or the garage or the back corner of a closet. Maybe it's a cardboard box, maybe it's a plastic storage tote, maybe it's a box that is still sealed with tape from your last move. And if we're being honest, you probably couldn't tell me exactly what's inside it. I was helping a family member move once, and while we were clearing out the attic, we came across several boxes that were still unpacked from 2 moves ago. The family had lived in their current house for 16 years, and in the house before that for 12 years. So that meant that those boxes hadn't been opened in 28 years. They had simply been moved from house to house. And when we finally opened them, we found things like canceled checks from the 1970s, old receipts, wadded up paper, and a few towels that had mostly turned into dust. There was nothing in those boxes that had any real meaning or purpose. It was just a bunch of things that had never been decided about. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that everything in an old box should go, but it is worth asking yourself, if I haven't needed anything in this box for 5 years or 10 years or 28 years, why am I planning to move it again? A move is a natural opportunity to make decisions that have been postponed for a very long time. So instead of automatically carrying that old box into your next home, open it. Get curious about it. See what's actually inside. You might find a few treasures worth keeping, but you also might discover that you're carrying around things that have quietly outlived their purpose years ago. And every box that you don't move is one less box to pack and load and unload and unpack on the other side. Number 2 is furniture that you don't love enough to move again. Now, before you start looking around the room and thinking that I'm telling you to get rid of all your furniture, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the pieces that you've been just sort of tolerating, like the chair that's uncomfortable, or the side table that you never really liked in the first place, the dresser that's functional, but every time you look at it you think, I should probably replace this someday. Or maybe it's that dining room table that is just so heavy. One of the questions that I like to ask clients is this: if moving this piece of furniture were completely free, would you still want it in your next home? Because sometimes we keep furniture simply because we already own it. We get used to seeing it every day, and after a while, we stop asking ourselves whether we actually like it. A move gives you a rare opportunity to ask that question. Your next home is a fresh start. It's a chance to be intentional about what comes with you. And if a piece of furniture doesn't fit your style or your needs or the way that you want your next home to feel, this might be the perfect time to let it go. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to replace it. You might find when you get to your next home that you actually like having fewer bookcases to dust or fewer chairs that get in the way. I've seen people spend hundreds of dollars moving furniture that they didn't even want, only to donate it a few months later. So before you move a piece of furniture, ask yourself, would I choose this piece again today? If I could snap my fingers and have it appear in the next house, would I want it there? If the answer is no, it might be worth letting it go, because every item that you bring into your next home should earn its place there, especially the large, heavy items that take the most time and energy and money to move. Number 3 is cheap furniture that's not worth moving. Now, this point is a little different from the last one. The last point was about furniture that you don't love, and this point is about furniture that might be perfectly fine, but it's simply not worth the cost and the effort of moving it. So I'm talking about things like inexpensive particle board bookcases, worn out shelving units, old desks, furniture that's already way past its prime. Years ago, when my family was preparing for one of our moves, I remember looking at a large bookcase and realizing it wasn't particularly special, it wasn't very sturdy, and it certainly wasn't worth paying to move it. And that's when I started asking a different question. Not, do I like this, but would I rather move this or replace it when I get to the new place? And sometimes the answer is surprisingly obvious once you start to factor in the time and the effort to move it and the space that it takes up on the truck and the possibility that it might not even survive another move. Sometimes replacing it can be the better option. Now, I know some people hear this and immediately think, but Sheila, that's wasteful, and I understand that. If a piece of furniture is serving you well and it fits your new home and you still enjoy it, by all means take it with you, regardless of what it cost. But your time and your energy and your space and your moving budget are valuable resources too. So sometimes we focus so much on how much an item costs and we forget to consider the cost of moving it. This isn't about getting rid of perfectly good furniture, it's about being intentional. If a piece is already worn out or wobbly or damaged, or if it's something that you've been meaning to replace for a few years anyway, a move can be a natural stopping point. So before you move a piece of furniture like this, ask yourself, would I rather pay to move it, or would I rather put that money towards something else in my new home? Sometimes not taking it with you is the thing that makes the most sense. Number 4 is things from a chapter of life that's already over. Now this one can be a little bit harder because it's usually not about the item itself, it's about what the item represents and the identity that's tied up in it. So maybe it's supplies from a job that you retired from years ago, or if you have children, maybe it's baby gear from when they were little. Maybe it's sports equipment from a sport that you no longer play, or materials from a hobby that was once a big part of your life. These items often stick around because they are connected to a version of ourselves that mattered to us, and that's completely understandable. One of the things I've learned from helping people declutter and downsize is that keeping every single item from a chapter of your life is not the same thing as honoring that chapter. So the chapter can be over and still be important, and the memories can still matter, the experience can still shape who you are today, but you don't have to keep every physical reminder of the things that happened. I remember going through my own teaching materials after leaving the classroom, and I had shelves of educational books and resources that I'd collected over many years. And at one point I found myself wondering, if I let these go, does that somehow make me less of a teacher? And of course the answer was no. The books didn't make me a teacher. The years that I spent teaching made me a teacher, and the impact that I had on my students made me a teacher. The books were simply tools from a season of life that had already served its purpose. And I think many of us have items like that. A move gives you an opportunity to ask, does this item still support the life that I'm living today? Not the life that I lived 10 years ago, and not the life that I thought I was going to live, but the life that I'm actually living right now. Because your next home should support your current chapter, not serve as a storage unit for a chapter that came before it. Number 5 is decor that you don't even like. Now this one might sound a little bit strange at first because most of us don't walk around our homes thinking, I hate that lamp or I can't stand that picture frame. What's more common is that we stop noticing it altogether. So maybe it was something that you bought years ago. Maybe it was something that worked in a previous home, or maybe it was a hand-me-down or something that you picked up just to fill a space. And over time, it simply became part of the background. I've had clients pull decorative items out of a cabinet or off a shelf and laugh because they suddenly realize they don't even remember why they're keeping them. Not because the items are bad or because they're broken, but because if the client saw that item sitting on a shelf today, they would not buy it. And I think that's a really important question to ask yourself before a move. If I saw this on a store shelf today, would I spend money to bring it home? If the answer is no, it's worth considering whether you want to spend your precious time and energy and moving dollars bringing it to your next home. A move is one of those times in life where we get to be intentional about what will fill our next space. And that's a gift. Your move deserves more than the leftovers. It deserves the things that you genuinely enjoy and the things that make you smile and that support the life that you're creating there. So before you wrap up that vase or that wall art or that decorative item that you've been storing for years, ask yourself, do I actually like this? Or have I simply gotten used to it being here? Because those are two very different things. And you might be surprised by how much easier it becomes to let go when you realize you're not losing something you love. You're simply making room for what you love more. Number 6 is gifts and obligation items. These are the things we keep not because we love them and not because we use them, sometimes not even because we want to keep them. We keep them because we feel guilty. Maybe it was a gift from a friend or a family member. Maybe it was given to you by someone who meant well. And every time you think about letting it go, a little voice in your head says, oh, but that person gave this to me. I should keep it. Over the years, I've had countless conversations with people standing in front of items that they don't actually want, trying to decide what to do with them. And often the item itself is not the problem. The guilt is the problem. Because here's the important thing to remember. The purpose of a gift is to be received. Once that has happened, once that gift has been given and received, it has already fulfilled its purpose. You don't have to keep it forever to prove that you were grateful, and you don't have to keep it forever to honor the person who gave it to you. You definitely don't have to pay to pack it and move it and unpack it and store it if it isn't adding value to your life. I often tell my clients your home should not be a storage unit for guilt. That's true in your current home, and it's just as true in your next one. So if you genuinely love the item and you use it and you smile every time you see it, that's totally different. Keep it. But if the reason that it's coming with you is because you feel guilty letting it go, and that's the only reason you're keeping it, I would encourage you to pause and think about that. Because the people who love you would probably want you to enjoy your home more than they would want you to store something out of obligation. So before you pack that guilt-ridden item, ask yourself, am I keeping this because I love it, or am I keeping it because I feel guilty? And if the answer is guilt, a move might be the perfect opportunity to finally let that burden go. Number 7 is just in case items. And if we're being honest, a lot of us have these. It's the extra kitchen appliance that you might need someday, or the spare set of dishes, or the backup lamp, or the random box of things that you're keeping because, well, you never know. Now, I want to be clear. I am not saying that you shouldn't be prepared for emergencies, but there's a difference between being prepared and storing an endless supply of what-ifs. So what makes this category tricky is that the stuff is usually practical and keeping it feels really smart and responsible. But when I work with clients, I often find that many of these items have not been used in years. So people are keeping things for a possibility rather than a probability, and there's an important distinction there. This is what the minimalists call the difference between just in case and just for when. A just in case item is something that you keep on the off chance that you maybe someday might need it. And a just for when item is something you keep because there's a very good chance that you actually will need it. So these are things you don't use every day, but you keep them for the times that you will need them, and they serve a really clear purpose. Like a hammer or a toilet plunger. Those are just for when items. You keep them just for when you're going to need them because chances are at some point you will. But a just in case item would be those 6 sets of sheets that you're storing for the guest bed. What are the chances that you are actually going to need all 6 sets of sheets? Probably very slim. So the goal isn't to get rid of everything that you use every day. The goal is to be honest about the difference between the things that serve a real purpose in your life and the things that you're keeping because of a hypothetical situation that may not ever happen. Because if we kept everything that we might possibly need someday, our homes would eventually become storage units for imaginary emergencies. Sometimes we keep stuff because we feel safer knowing that it's there, and I completely understand that feeling, but every just-in-case item comes with a cost. It takes up space, it takes up time, it takes up energy, and when you're moving, it also takes up space on the truck. So before you pack that extra backup item or that box of things that you've been saving for someday, ask yourself, am I keeping this because I need it or because I'm afraid to let it go? Because those are 2 very different reasons. And sometimes what creates the most freedom in a move is letting go of things that we've been holding on to for just in case, for a someday that never actually arrived. Number 8 is collections that you no longer display. Now, this isn't about collections that you love. If you have something that brings you joy every time you look at it, that's a completely different conversation. I'm talking about the collections that are packed away in boxes. The collections that have been sitting on a shelf in the garage, or they've been carefully stored for years, but they haven't actually been enjoyed. Maybe it's figurines, or collector plates, or souvenir spoons, or Hallmark ornaments, teacups, dolls, or something else entirely. Over the years, I've noticed that many collections start out as something that genuinely brings us happiness. We enjoy searching for the next piece, and we enjoy displaying them. We enjoy the memories attached to them. But sometimes, little by little, that changes, and the collection gets packed away during a move or a remodel or a busy season of life, and then years go by, and that collection is still taking up space, but it isn't being enjoyed anymore by anyone. I remember working with a client who had several large bins of collectibles stored in her storage shed, and when we pulled them out, she told me she hadn't displayed any of them in nearly a decade. As we talked, she realized something important. She wasn't keeping them because she loved displaying them. She was keeping them because she remembered loving them. And that's not necessarily the same thing. A move is a wonderful opportunity to ask yourself, if I move this collection to my new home, where will it actually live? Not where do you hope it will live, or where you think it should live, or where it lived 20 years ago, but realistically, where will it live in your next home? If the answer is that it's probably going to stay in a box somewhere, it might be worth asking a second question. Am I preserving the collection, or am I preserving the memory? Am I holding on to this collection because I love it, or because I remember that I used to love it? Sometimes the most freeing realization is that you don't have to keep every piece of a collection in order to honor what it meant to you. You can keep your favorites, you can keep the pieces that matter most, and you can let the rest go, knowing that they served their purpose during that season of your life. because collections are meant to be enjoyed. And if they aren't being enjoyed anymore by anyone, a move might be the perfect time to rethink whether they belong in your next home. Number 9 is kitchen gadgets that seemed like a good idea at the time. And before anyone comes for me in the comments, I'm not saying that every specialty kitchen gadget needs to go. So if you use your air fryer, keep it. If you love your stand mixer or your bread machine and it's getting regular use, keep it. I'm talking about the gadgets that sounded like a great idea at the time, but they never really became a part of your life. The juicer that you only used twice, the pasta maker that felt exciting when you bought it, the ice cream machine that seemed like it was going to become a family tradition, the fondue pot, or any other specialty appliance that's been sitting on a shelf collecting dust for years. I think most of us have at least one of these, and I don't think these purchases are mistakes. They represent optimism and curiosity and a version of ourselves that was excited to try something new. But sometimes we end up keeping the gadget long after we've stopped using it. Not because we need it or love it, but because we remember the good intentions behind it, and sometimes it's because we realize how much money we spent on it. So one of the questions that I like to ask is this: if this thing disappeared tomorrow, would I replace it? Not could I use it, because most of us could use a lot of things. We could find a use for it. But the question is, would I actually spend money to buy another one if this one disappeared? That answer tells you a lot. If the answer is yes, it has probably earned its place. If the answer is no, it might be taking up valuable space in your kitchen and on your moving truck. And here's the thing about kitchen gadgets. They are surprisingly bulky. They take up box space and they take time to wrap and pack and move and unpack. So before you pack that specialty appliance, ask yourself, do I use this often enough to justify moving it? Or am I moving it because I like the idea of using it someday? Sometimes those are two very different things. And sometimes the easiest way to make a move calmer and easier is to let go of the things that sounded like a good idea, but never really became a part of your everyday life. Permission to let them go. If you've gotten any value out of this video so far, it would mean the world to me if you would hit that subscribe button so that I can reach more people and help more people. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. Number 10 is cheap replaceable items. And I think this is a perfect one to end on because it gives us a really simple way to think about everything else we've talked about today. Now, before I explain what I mean, I know some people will hear this and immediately think, isn't that wasteful? And I understand that. Nobody wants to be wasteful. But a lot of times when we think about being wasteful, we are mostly concerned about the money that we spent. And there's another side of the equation that we don't always talk about. Your time is valuable, your energy is valuable, your space is valuable. And when you are moving, those things matter. Sometimes we focus so much on the cost of replacing an item that we forget to consider the cost of packing it and moving it and storing it and unpacking it and finding a place for it in our new home. So I'm talking about inexpensive items that would be easy to replace if you ever truly needed them again, but spoiler alert, you probably aren't going to need them again. So maybe it is an old laundry basket or a worn out storage container or just a collection of random stuff that's been sitting in a box in your basement unused for years. Now, this doesn't mean you should throw away everything that's inexpensive just because it was inexpensive. That's not the point. The point is to recognize that keeping something simply because you already own it is not always the best reason to move it. Sometimes the most expensive things we move aren't the things that cost the most money. They're the things that are costing us the most time and effort and attention and space on the moving truck. And after moving 10 times in 10 years, I have never once gotten to a new house and thought, wow, I really wish I had brought more stuff with me. It's always the opposite. So everything that you let go of right now is one less thing that you need to pack and move and unpack later. If you'd like a little more help, my Decluttered Move course walks you through the entire process of decluttering, packing, and preparing for a move. I'll put a link to that course in the description below. The goal isn't simply to move. The goal is to move forward with less stress and more peace. And often that means moving forward with less stuff. If you'd like to keep watching YouTube videos, I think you'll enjoy this one right here. I'll meet you there.